Okay, so we're going to begin today's webinar. Today's webinar is titled "Creating Connections, Build Your Network." So the basis of this webinar will be centered around networking. My name is Charles Kelly. I'm with Career Services here at the Chicago School. So I'll be facilitating today's webinar. This webinar will be recorded, and I will be placing and putting the webinar recording on our archive page in Career Services, on the Services website. So feel free to, and I'm going to do all of this next week to place all of this information on the website. So if there's anything that it seems as though that you missed going on for Career Development Week, because this is one of the webinars that's being offered through Career Development Week. Everything will be housed on the web page. So we're going to begin. If there are any questions, feel free to use the chat feature. If not, like I said, at the end of today's session, I could unmute calls if you wanted to raise any questions. So we'll begin right now. So the objective for today is just to understand what networking is and what it is not. We want to discuss a little bit more about this whole thing that's called networking. So we're going to learn why it's important to network and how it can help you professionally in your development. And then we're going to talk about learning strategies for networking. So to begin, just to give you sort of like a basis of what networking is, which is simply just an exchange of information between two or more individuals. Professional networking is just the creation and cultivation of professional friendships and acquaintances. And when you think about networking, the exchange of information is the important piece there. It's not one-sided. It isn't simply one person sharing everything and then you're just receiving. It is just that exchange of information. A list of contacts now who might be able to help you with your career or with your job hunting. So, when you think about currently now, we're going to talk about how what's important now, who you can talk to now, but how your now can impact your future as well. Because information being exchanged now, although it's good information, but it may not help you now, but it could help you in the future. But something to consider when it comes to when you're thinking about networking. Networking, you are networking when you attend professional events. And that's for the most part. You have people who will say, I'm going to a networking event. I'm going to a conference. I'm looking forward to networking at the conference, conventions. These are places where you can network, volunteer for a cleanup day at a park. So just simply if you're volunteering, being a part of a group of people who sort of have the same idea as you, this is a place where networking can occur. When you are a part of social clubs or even your neighbors, getting to know and sharing and exchanging information, networking can happen. Looking at friends using social media such as like Facebook, that's a way that networking can occur. Just reconnecting on LinkedIn is a way to, as well as exchanging information. And then talking to salespersons visiting your office. So if it's a situation where you are in an office and people are coming through, depending on what type of work you do, that is still another way to networking, because all of this is networking. But networking is not asking people for a job. That's something that you just don't want to really do. Just go and ask people for a job. It's just something, it isn't part of networking. Or networking is not always done in a formal setting. So what we were talking about earlier with conferences or an event where you are invited to come, it's not always done there. So networking can happen virtually anywhere. And networking is not pestering people. So it is not, for example, applying for a job and constantly calling and connecting with a bunch of people. or pestering people, hounding them, talking to them constantly, and thinking that you're getting somewhere. So that is not networking at all. Why network? Well, 70% of the time, hiring managers know their candidate. Okay, so what's interesting is jobs are posted. A person will apply for a position, but there's times when a position is posted and the idea or the thought of the position being filled could already be determined. You know, a referral can come in, and that's part of networking. You're in the office, you are wind of a position opening up. You may connect with the person who is a hiring manager at your office and refer someone. Now imagine the person applying for the position not having that connection. They're just going through the process of going to the website, putting in a resume, cover letter, waiting to get called. Well, the person who has the inside just pretty much handed an applicant to someone. So that's part of that sort of hiring managers know their candidate. Okay, 60% of the jobs are found through networking. And in that example that I gave you is a part of that. And I think the sharing and exchanging of information is helpful when it comes to that. Just like 60% of the jobs are not advertised. Also going along with that example, you need people. And when you think about the power of networking, you're thinking about you and one person knowing two people knowing three, and then the number just expanding with the number of people that can be a part of your network. And in your network does not necessarily mean that you know number 636 personally. It just means that you have a connection to number 36. So it's all a part of just that network. And so when you're talking about networks, you have those informal networks. So your friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, chance meetings, you're on the train, and someone admires your shoes, and from there you can talk about where you bought your shoes, and it can go to I have a friend that works there, to it can just go to a lot of different areas in the discussion, but it's all informal. Organized networks, so going to professional events, being a part of associations, leisure activities such as any type of intramural sports, like it's flag football or something. That's a group of people. That's more organized. It's set for you to meet people. That's just the way it's organized to be. So that's something to consider when you think about networks. And then your career network. So a group of contacts that you maintain regularly. And this is the people you talk to in your workplace. It could be internal, external constituents, coworkers, anyone that has to do with what you do on a regular basis. Okay, so why network? You need people for this information. I like to highlight the word access. I mean, you want access to what you desire, what you seek, the connection, the transition. You want access. It's not uncommon that I hear someone come into my office, or I talk to someone over the phone, and they're saying, you know, I don't really have a lot of experience. I'm new to the city. Where can I start? And all of this has to do with access. I want access to information. I want access to people. I want access to employers. What company should I look for? Things like that. Resources are important as well. Understanding who has those resources is important. And then you want to have access to the hidden job market. It's not what you know, but who you know and who knows you for what you can do. So I think that's important. Like in my office, someone will talk to me about what they like to do. So they're sharing information. They're telling me about what they like to do, what they do, what they know. And this is all this information that I'm receiving. Through this conversation, I could be aware. I'm a hub of resources, right? I can be aware of all of the stuff that you're telling me and point you in a direction, or know of someone who can connect you to something, or actually know a hiring manager So, I mean, and that's just giving an example, but that's how it's important. That's how important networking is. You want that access to the hidden job market. Hidden job market is simply what the example that I talked about. Here it is. I'm aware that you have a need. I know an area of interest that you have. I work in this office, and you're interested in human resources. I work in this office. I'm in career services, and I just so happen to be really cool with someone in the HR department. Us chatting, the person says, here's a position that's going to be filling, or we have a larger budget. We can hire someone new. I have someone now I can refer. What's hidden is that they haven't even pushed it out yet. But yet, I know that there's a position available, and I have someone to refer already before they even push the advertisement out. So that hidden job market. So you want to have access to that through networking. Why network is useful at different career stages. So when you're looking at these different stages as a graduate student, building contacts with future colleagues. Every student that I have coming to my office, or who I talk to over the phone, who may be in an online program or at one of our other campuses, either in Southern California or Washington, D.C. First thing I talk about is get to know your peers, your classmates. You can ask a question such as, why did you choose this program? Are you currently working? What are some of your career goals when you're done with school? This can generate, one, access. A person in your class could already be working at a company, already working in their field. They're just using the degree to increase their salary or get another title, right, than a company. They may know people within this company. This could be a company on your radar. Second thing is you understand that maybe John or Susie is going to go into government work, right? You make this connection, you become friends with them. They do essentially down the line get into government work. Well, remember what I talked about earlier, the information now can help you later. So they're in government work, you're working where you are, you decide you want to transition. Hidden job market, now you make that connection. So it's important to start to build what can essentially be your future colleagues, okay? Exploring the profession, it helps you to understand the profession. Let's say you think you want to do clinical psychology working with kids, right? You think that that's what you want to do. Well, you have another classmate who is kind of doing it. You can sit with them and talk about it. Or maybe you and someone else is thinking about the same thing and you may want to both explore it. So it's something to consider. So mid-career professional, access professionals outside your organization who can provide advice. Aid in research, best practices. So you're working in the field, and so you're looking at, okay, I want to take the next level. So you want to identify these new work opportunities. You start to explore the industry that you're currently in. I talk to students a lot about looking at what they currently do and looking at it as an industry. I was just talking to a student the other day who worked in sort of like TV, radio, entertainment, marketing type of business. That company that this student worked for has competitors. There are smaller, mid-size, all different types of branches that come from that industry. The thing that you can ideally sell in how you're marketing yourself is, okay, you may not be comfortable where you currently are, but there are other companies within that same industry that may do work differently, their work environments differently. So now you have something to look for when it comes to new opportunities. You start to explore in your mid-career, you start to explore your industry that you're in. So senior professional, looking at help meet staffing needs, develop collaborative partnerships. Okay, so now you're a manager. You're running a company. You're running a consulting firm. You need to stretch out further your business. So you want to hire people on. So those connections, so your alumni, your undergraduate or graduate school, you start to reach back to those programs and say, hey, I have opportunities. Do you have any students that I can hire for internship? Do you have any recent grads that I can have access to build staffing needs? or just to develop collaborative partnerships. Maybe you're doing a special project and you need maybe some research done from your alma mater, a research department or something. And they can help you. So it's collaborating and partnership. So that's important to consider too. Who is in your network? Qualify those who are in your network. So you have acquaintances, allies, and advocates. Your acquaintances will do like a small favor. Okay, I'll pass it on to someone, or I'll walk it in to someone. An ally refers to you, will refer you, name, or give you names, resources, and ideas. They'll take it a step further. They'll say, okay, I know Mike. I'll pass this over to Mike. And it's not a big deal because they pass it over to Mike. They were just really doing that. That's the next step. The small favor is something like, maybe I'll just review your resume and I'll just tell you what the industry likes. So then you have the advocate who will talk about you to the right people. So, and this can be looking at it as a level of how you're building your relationship. That if I am talking to a student and I have evidence of their work, I talk to the student often, I know their character, their work ethic, and these things, I can essentially become an advocate. Meaning that if something comes up, an opportunity, I'm not just passing it over to someone. I'm actually passing it to them and sitting down with them and sort of talking you up to this person. So it helps them to further say, you know what, you were referred by Charles. Charles is someone who we respect, and he knows what he's talking about, good judge of character. And you know what, I want to give you a shot because of that. And so those are the different levels of how you can look to qualify those who are in your network as well. Building your toolkit. Easy to use methods for storing information. Looking at LinkedIn. Your laptop, looking at Outlook, organizing the information that you received. Your cell phone, creating categories of people who you connect with. Business cards, where are you storing these? Do you have an old school Rolodex? Do you have a box of cards? And if you categorize them, or they have the new thing now, you can just scan your card and it'll create a listing for you. So you want to organize stuff, business cards. You want to maybe have some of your own if you're ever in some of those formal settings and the business card passing around is something that occurs. You want to make sure that you're equipped with this information. Or if you just simply want to have some on you, I keep at least 2 or 3 business cards in my wallet because I'm carrying my wallet everywhere. And if it's a situation I meet with someone and we're sharing information and there's a possibility of collaborating, I will pass along my card. But in this day and age with cell phones, you could type this stuff into your phone and you'll have the information. Or you can simply give someone your LinkedIn URL and connect it with them on there. So meeting the survival kit, Sharpies, pen, business cards, smart devices, just the stuff that I was talking about for meetings. You just want to make sure that you really take notes to have something to refer to. Okay, strategies and you'll want to be alert for unexpected daily opportunity, because you never know. And I mentioned I keep 2 or 3 business cards in my wallet. You never know. You may want to create your own opportunities. One cool opportunity is, and this is just something that can happen every day for yourself. I'm a big fan of the sandwich shops. So I may go in and I may try to develop a relationship with a sandwich maker simply because when the next time I come in, they may understand what it is that I like. I think developing a relationship, you will receive the services that you want. I mean, it's just using it as a loose example, but it's something how you can create opportunities. Or you're creating opportunities through sharing information with your peers in a course, in a class, and then at the end you can start to gather who has what skills or who is connected to what, so when you come across something you can always come back to it. for that resource. Network without saying anything, starting a blog, commenting on LinkedIn groups. I talk to people a lot about LinkedIn or Facebook. The key is participating in a discussion, or if you're a part of a professional organization. It's not simply being a part of the organization, it's being active in the organization. It's actually contributing to the growth of a system, a function, an organization, because then you become visible. Information starts to come to you much faster because of your ability to be active. So your activeness is not saying anything, but you're networking as you are active. You want to take 15, 20 minutes daily to contact someone in your career network. It's okay to meet someone at a conference, and then maybe 6 months later, shoot them a quick email and say, I'm just, in my case, since I work in higher education, I have colleagues who work in higher education, it's not uncommon for me to send a message at the start of a new semester. Everyone has sort of like a high anxiety, anxiousness to start a new term or a new semester. And it's not uncommon. I'll send a message to say, congratulations for completing the year. Let's start up and have a great new academic year. And that could start up discussions, or I can get privy to information that could be beneficial for myself through the network. Touch base, ask for advice. You have colleagues, you have people you're connected to. Don't do all of the hard thinking. Ask others in your network, because that could draw from them answering you, but then discussing it with someone else to get more information, and then the connections continue to occur. Talk about and comment on industry news. I think it's important when you're a professional or you're developing to become a professional in the field. You want to be able to educate yourself and understand your field enough where you can comment on the news within your industry. Becoming a professional in the industry is so vital and so important, and it helps you stay connected, and you won't have to rely on others for the access because you are privy to what's going on in the industry. And just catch up on what's just happening in the world around you. You create the world and just know what's happening around you. Okay. Questions to ask when networking. I get this a lot. For those who will say, I just don't know how to network. I'm nervous. Being in a room with people, complete strangers. What do I say? What do I do? So questions to ask when networking. How did you get your start in the business that you are currently in? I think this is key. I think this is important. You want information to be exchanged. Well, asking the questions that the person hearing the question will want to exchange information. So that's why some people will simply say, open-ended question like, great weather we're having. Or what do you think of this sports team? What do you think of this situation that you would assume most people would know about something in the news? So what do you think of this? So simply, how did you get your start in your business or in the business you're currently in? I mean, for me, if I own the business, to be able to share that, it's sort of a pride behind it as well. You will be surprised on how open people are willing to share that information. The information that is being shared is something that can help you in your development and understanding. What do you enjoy most about your profession? Who wouldn't want to answer that question, right? That's also a question you could hear in an interview. What advice would you give someone just starting out in this career? Very simple question, especially if you're around people who are veterans or seasoned in their careers. Those people are willing to share. They want to share. Some individuals don't want people coming in to make the same mistakes because they want their profession to stay relevant and vital and be fresh and new. So to share and give that advice for someone who can innovate and expand that profession, that's why they're willing to share this information, because it benefits them. It's an exchange of information. Let me go back. What ways have you found to be the most effective for promoting your skills and abilities? I mean, I think when you look at the way the questions are even listed, they sort of become a little bit more advanced. So, I mean, but we naturally, if we ask a few questions and people start to share information, naturally you may be curious about things that they've mentioned as they were sharing. So that's why some of these questions, albeit very simple, the answer can help gauge on what to ask next. And so that's pretty much how it begins, okay? So for informal interviewing, or I'm sorry, informational interviewing. So if you haven't heard of this term, this is something that a career professional such as myself will talk to someone looking to transition into a new career or understand something new about a career that they want to focus on or what they're majoring in. So one of the strategies is the informational interview. You will use a list of target organizations and hiring managers. So the thing that you will look for is, okay, here are some companies that I'm interested in. Here's an aspect of an industry that I would want to know. You could, let's say through LinkedIn, I'm just going to use LinkedIn as an example. You can put in a company name. A profile about the company will pop up, as well as based on your network, who are the people that work at this company and how you're connected. If you're someone who would like to talk and schedule with someone, you could request, you could send a short email message to request time of this person, right? And all of that has to do with comfort level. Not everyone is willing to ask a complete stranger for their time to talk to them about what they do. Well, but that's basically what the informational interview is. You're raising these questions because you're asking questions and to receive advice for your job search, right? You're not asking someone for a job. What you're asking is for them to share information about what they do, how do they like the company that they're with, what are some of the pros and cons of your career in the past or currently in this organization, just to get information. And then what will happen is at the end, you're going to request for some feedback, additional, feedback from them, or get additional information from someone else. But 4 areas to focus on in this informational interview is your present. Tell me about your current position, right? So overview, what I was saying, you're going to get this information from someone. So you want to know about their current position. How did they get into the field from the past? Like, how did you get into this field? Future, long-term opportunities in the field. What is your vision of this career? Where do you, not necessarily where you see yourself going, but where do you see the future of this career since you were in it for a while? Advice, contacts, feedback. Do you know of anyone else that I can connect with to learn further about this industry? And they may be able to connect you with someone in their network. And that's how you're starting to build information. And within this information interview, like I said, it's just you getting information. There could be times when you're able to then share stuff about you, depending on how the structure of the informational interview go. If you and as individuals just have a connection, things can happen organically. But for you, primarily, you're just trying to get information. So you can make sure that you're on the right path as you build up your experience in your career. So strategies for informational interview, things that you would want to do is make sure you just dressed appropriately. So this is just saying preparing for an interview. So for the informational interview, dress in professional attire. Once again, it's an exchange of information. There's times when just your appearance, your professional demeanor is something that a person would be confident in validating if they were referring you to someone else. So dressing the part, that first impression is important. Avoid asking the questions, can I help? Can I have a job? Or can you give me a job? Or do you know of a job? You want to stay away from those. Ask for the name and phone number of 1 or 2 additional people you might contact. So this is you expanding to get more information. Schedule a time to meet by phone as an alternative. But you want to meet someone in person. But hey, if you have to do something over the phone, that's something you can do as well. Send some sort of response or thank you or a letter of appreciation for sharing of the time. Keep your contacts informed of your progress. So you're asking these questions, and the person you're talking to is aware that you may be looking to go into that career. Stay in contact with them. Let them know how your process is going. Maybe even validate and say, you know what, the steps that you mentioned to me was very helpful. However you want to show gratitude. Remember, it's a mutually beneficial process, okay? They're sharing of information, and you're going to use this to benefit you, but at the same time, they're benefiting too because they're in the position where they can share, okay? So what is an elevator pitch? So some people in networking, when they talk about networking, it's like, get your elevator pitch together. So the elevator pitch, it just provides a clear and concise description on you and your career goals. It helps build a bridge that connects to the other person. And it is just for the person who's listening to understand the direction that the conversation will go, or to understand who you are as a professional, and what is the direction of the conversation. So that's where that bridge comes in. It's the bridge to connect. So it's giving a roadmap to the road to travel when it comes to the discussion. An elevator pitch is useful for networking informally and formally. Something that can be an elevator pitch is someone describing who they are as a professional, simply saying, I'm a current student with an interest in this area. I have some knowledge or some experience in this area, and this is the direction that I want to go. It helps with information interview requests. So if you want to request these interviews, you're telling a person instantly who you are and what direction you want to go in your career to help guide the connection for the informational interview. It answers the question, tell me about yourself. So if you ever hear that question, tell me about yourself, that is the elevator pitch, okay? Then we have more information. Begin with an introduction of you is the elevator pitch. Describes an interesting aspect of your background, can also be included. Makes a connection to the listener. Okay, so you want to make sure that the person you're talking to is relevant, and when it comes to the information that they're willing to share, that you're getting it from the right person. May end with an open-ended question. So advice and information, referrals to others can come to this. So if it is not the right person, they will know who they could connect you with. May end with a particular question. Contact at a specific organization, because of what you talk about could lead to just making the right connection with the right person. All right, so here's an example of an elevator pitch. So, hi, I'm a graduate student in the forensic program with hands-on experience in delivering services to children with autism, as well as experience using evidence-based treatment for abused and neglected children. I have a keen interest in these backgrounds, or an interest in a background, and then my strengths are, organizational skills, taking initiative, and I'm always looking for new ways to contribute to the field. So it's telling someone who you are, your interests, goals, to drive the discussion. Okay. So when it comes to networking, the key thing for tip number one is just to be genuine. There's a lot of information that I shared during this presentation, but it ultimately boils down to you just being genuine. Networking is about just establishing trust and building relationships. I'm not comfortable with sharing information with people I do not know and in a networking situation. But as we share information, I'm willing to go an extra mile. In my profession, in my job, this is just what I do naturally because I understand why students are coming into my door or giving me a call. It's already understood on where we meet and how my services will provide assistance to them. For a complete stranger, if they're talking about job searching, naturally I may go into my career advising mode and sort of ask some questions. But until more information is given to me, I don't know really what direction I will go. Because if I'm just offering information, I could be imposing. This person could already be doing these things. So, but it's important just to be genuine to establish this trust and build a relationship. Tip number 2, prepare in advance. You understand what it is that you want to do, what direction you want to go. Decide what are your top 3 goals, 3 to 4 goals when it comes to preparing yourself for a networking meeting. You're going to a formal event for a purpose, so prepare for what it is that you're going to face. Preparing, like I mentioned, I keep 2 or 3 business cards in my wallet. I'm prepared in advance if I meet someone and there's the question of exchanging information. We do have our cell phones, so we can do it right then and there, but the business card for some people is still relevant, so I'm prepared for that. Ask open-ended questions. Focus on questions related to who, what, where, when, and why. I think is important because you want to be able to just get the information that you need, and you want it to fuel more questions. Develop a conversation, which is developing this rapport, this relationship, this trust. Tip number 4, have a clear understanding of what you can do and what you offer. Think about your experiences, strengths, and skills. So be clear about what it is that you want to do. If you're talking to someone and they ask you, well, what are your interests? And you are unsure, it's difficult for that person to want to help. They don't know what direction to go. So it's like, have a clear understanding. Talking to someone like me or a career professional, an advisor is important because you can be unsure with me or anyone related to what I do. You can be unsure with us because our job is to listen to uncertainty, folks who are unsure. So it's okay. But when you're going out there and you really want to understand, just be clear. Just understand what it is that you want to do. I think that's important. Tip number 5, have a copy of your current CV or resume. I think this helps you when it comes to being sure of what it is that you want to do. Your resume, doing a resume during doing a CV, I think is pseudo-therapeutic. It is something where it helps you to understand a little bit more about what you've done and how it's preparing you for what you want to do. It's helping prepare you for the positions that you truly want to apply to because the information on your resume or your CV is going to be applicable to the position. So that's you learning about the position, taking your skills and quantifying it or putting it down on paper and making sure that it fits the bill so you can compete for those positions that are open. So, having that copy of that document is just another way for you to pass it on to someone that can lead to something else. Bringing business cards, just another way to promote yourself. It's still one of those things that it's relevant, bringing a business card. I have colleagues who have business cards but don't even pass them out because they just feel like in this day and age, you can simply ask someone for a LinkedIn account. A person can simply say, "Are you on LinkedIn?" They can say, "Yeah, absolutely." Okay, I'm going to look you up, and then they can do it right there on their phone. And then the other person's phone will receive an alert, and then they're connected. Or they have these phones where you can just tap them together and information is shared. So, I mean, but business cards are still relevant in some circles. So bring business cards. Use active listening. So be aware of your body language when speaking with an employer or to anyone else. You want to look and seem open to participate in the discussion. You don't want to come across as crude, rude, or anything like that. You want to be more inviting, because you want to be able to accept what you're hearing, and you want your body language to display that. So use active listening when it comes. So just be aware of how you are listening. Tip 8. Create a good impression. I think that's important. Eye contact is hugely important, and a firm handshake are key. It's just one of those things as far as a level of respect. I mean, the way I say level of respect is not as serious and ingrained as if you have to. It's just one of those things that is it's a sign of mutual agreement. We both agree that this meeting time is going to be informational for us both. And that's through saying hello with an eye contact and a firm handshake sealing the meeting, the connection. Okay, and tip number 9, follow up on referrals or suggested next steps. So if you are referred to someone, follow up immediately. If you talk to someone in an informational interview and they say, "Hey, you can talk to this person, I'm setting it up," or contact this person, you want to make sure you do that immediately or follow up. You just want to make sure you follow up. It's important for that. So that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions, I believe Melissa, you are on the call. I don't think you're on the actual chat. So I want to attempt to unmute you, but first I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to unmute you. If you have any questions, let me know, or just simply say, "Oh, no, I don't." You can mute me back. So I'm going to do that now.